Hi, everyone. So I would like to discuss with you how I grade discussions with the rubric. So just so you guys can kind of get used to how I grade. So I wrote my discussion board of this week. So really quick, if you look at the prompt, it says, what is the relationship of environment and cancers? Describe the effect of tobacco, alcohol, radiation, exposure, diet, and obesity to carcinogenesis. Talks about your initial post that you need to reply to two classmates. You need to use one scholarly source other than the textbook, that you should be properly threading your response, which I've never ever run into a problem with people not being able to thread properly. So, but don't worry, if you do, I will give you numerous chances on figuring that out. So first things first, I'm going to show you how I use the rubric. So let me open up, actually what I'll do here is I will open up my, all right, so I will open up how the rubric looks. Sorry, guys. I wanted to show you how I can grade, but I can't grade myself, and I don't want to show one of your names and stuff because that would be not allowed. So let me, so here is the rubric. Okay, and here is my post. All right, so, I read through everybody's post first. I make sure that all the prompt questions were answered. If you look at my post, I actually didn't discuss radiation. So that's something that I would take off points on. So if you see here, the first thing it has different criteria that I grade on. So you'll see critical thinking, content, logic, argument, style, and then contribution to learning. So critical thinking is looking at the content and the analysis that you have in there. So did you process all the concepts that were discussed? Did you just regurgitate information, or did you take it to the next level of thinking? So, 1 point is rudimentary and superficial, no analysis. Okay, so that means you just listed all the concepts, you defined them, and that was it. Next one, it says generally competent information and is thin and commonplace. So you maybe did a step up and did a little more than just a rudimentary definitions of each topic. Substantial information, thought, insight, analysis. So you are now processing information. We're talking about cancer, and so what does this mean about how we can teach our patients? And then, taking it to the next level, full of thought, insight, and analysis. So you really processing the information, okay? So here is an example. If you just said cancer, so if you just used this this comment here, I said cancer develops from a single cell's proliferation manner that does not follow the normal pattern and that invades other tissues and organs. Great. So that was a very basic, rudimentary explanation of how cancer occurs from the cell, right? But taking it a little deeper is talking about why it's important that we understand the lifestyle factors and possible exposure that affect the proliferation of cancer cells and what interventions we can do. So that's synthesizing the information, taking it a step further, okay? So then next we talk about content. So little to none of the required aspects are covered. Okay, so I covered most of them, right? But I didn't cover radiation. So I would give myself a 3 on that, right? Logic and argument. So going back to content, that is making sure that you cover each aspect that we discussed during the week, or if in the prompt, okay? So it talked about carcinogenesis and it answered all the prompts except radiation, so I'd take points off of that. Logic and argument. So logic and argument is using you're going to make a statement, right? So for example, if I say um, it's really important that we teach people not to smoke because we know it causes cancer. Okay, great. But what logic and support do we have for that to actually back up that point that you're making? Because it's really great that you want to say that, but you have to use research and logical information to back it up, not just your gut feeling. So, for example, there are over 60 carcinogenic chemicals in tobacco smoke that is known to cause somatic mutations that can build up into proliferation of cancer cells, including the lungs, bladder, and other organs. Great. So now we know that's a really good reason to tell people to stop smoking, right? So that is an example of logic and argument. So I see that a lot when people are like, oh, you know, lots of people have asthma problems because they don't take their asthma medicine. Okay, well, how do you know? Um, 50% of all asthma ER admissions are due to noncompliance with asthma controller inhalers. And then citing the research that says that. That is going to give you a clear and concise logical support and reasoning. So stylistics, that's when I'm looking at grammar and APA, of course. Also, when I'm looking at content, we're also looking at what kind of resources you use. So I used more than one scholarly resource other than the book. I didn't even use the book. I was taught never to use the book, so I used 5 different resources. And then lastly, when we talk about contribution to learning environment, so are you just saying, yes, I agree, or great post, or wow, I learned a lot from that? Or are you continuing the discussion or sending it in another direction and bringing up a new idea? Are you interacting with your group? So you want to be as thorough as possible when you are responding, because the point of this is supposed to be a discussion between you guys. I mean, we have discussion posts because we don't have class anymore. So you guys don't sit in a circle while I'm there and talk about the week's content. This is our circle time. This is our discussion time. So that's how you get graded on that. I hope that this was helpful. Really comb through the rubric, because that is always going to be really helpful in helping you guys get the grade that you want.